This is Mico and Mickey's channel, sharing a crochet tutorial each week. Today we'll teach you how to crochet this cute cat ear bag. You can crochet to any size you like, and the buttons are made of yarn too. You can also adjust the length of the straps. Let's get started. First, we're gonna make a slip knot. Then we need to single crochet a chain. The length of the chain will determine the width of the bag. So crochet as many chains as you need for the size you want. Yarn over, pull through the loop on your hook. That's one chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. Now keep going with the chain to your desired length. Okay, there's 15 chains now, which I think is a good length. Let's use a stitch marker to mark the last chain. Then chain one more to start the second round. Now we're gonna single crochet into each chain from the marked stitch until only the last chain remains unworked. For me, that's 14 single crochets. Insert your hook into the marked stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Yarn over again, pull through the 2 loops on your hook. That's 1 single crochet. Now remove the stitch marker to the stitch you just made. And then you can continue single crocheting into each chain along the foundation chain. This is the first chain I single crocheted into. And this is the second. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over again, pull through the 2 loops on your hook. Now single crocheting until the last chain. Now I'm at the last chain. In this last chain, I'm gonna insert 3 single crochets into the chain to form the bottom corner of the bag. So make 1 single crochet first. And then insert a hook into the same hole. After inserting your hook, hold the yarn tail to the back between the hook and the working yarn so it's hidden inside. Now you can complete the single crochet with the working yarn on top. And then single crochet another stitch in the same chain. Now one side of the chain is complete. For the next steps, we're gonna start single crocheting into the other side of the chain. If you felt confused by the previous part, I'm gonna demonstrate again using an obvious yarn that is easier to see. First, we crochet the chain. If the length is enough for the width you want for your bag base, then chain 1 more for the second round. After that, we're gonna start single crochet into each chain from the second to last chain. Continue single crocheting along the chain until only one chain remains. Okay, now I'm left with only this chain that hasn't been single crocheted yet. We're gonna single crochet 3 stitches within this chain. First, single crochet 1 stitch. Then continue with the hook in the same chain hole. Pull the yarn tail to between the hook and the working yarn so it's hidden inside. Then continue and complete the single crochet. This lets the tail be hidden inside the bag. Next, single crochet another stitch in the same chain hole. Now we need to start single crocheting into the other side of the chain because we already did 3 stitches in the last chain. So skip it and start single crocheting into the next chain over. Pull the chain open slightly so you can see a small hole below the X formed by the crossed loops. That's where you're gonna insert your hook to single crochet. Then the following stitches are worked in the small holes below each X as well. Okay, now let's start single crocheting along this side of the chain. The number of single crochets will be 2 stitches fewer than the original chain. So for me, that's 13 single crochets, leaving the last chain unworked. For the last chain, we need to single crochet 2 stitches. Then we can join with the first stitch marker to finish the second round. The extra stitch from the chaining one at the beginning of the second round can be skipped. So remove the stitch marker and insert your hook into the marked stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull through the loop on your hook. That's a slip stitch. Now the bottom of the bag is complete, and next we're gonna work on the back body. The pattern for each round of the back body is the same. Chain 1 to start. Then single crochet 1 stitch in each stitch around. After that, finish each round with a slip stitch to join. Here is a small tip to help you find the first stitch of each round. Look at the back of your work, and the small hole that the loop on your hook is coming out of is the first stitch. You can double check after you insert your hook. Remember to mark the first stitch of each round for easy joining at the end. Then continue single crocheting 1 stitch in each stitch around until the round is complete. Now I've finished the last stitch of this round. We can find there are 2 stitches remaining between the marked first stitch. These are the slip stitch from the end of the previous round and the chain stitch from the start of this round. We can skip these two and directly slip stitch into the marked first stitch to join this round. For the back body, simply repeat the pattern from the third round. Chain 1 at the start of each round, then single crochet 1 stitch in each stitch around, then finish with a slip stitch to join. Continue repeating this pattern until you reach your desired height. At this point, you can whip in and trim the starting tail as well. For now, let's pause the video so you can continue crocheting the back body. We'll check back in later. For the back body, I crocheted 7 rounds total, which sounds like enough height. So now let's work on the back flap. We're gonna start from the back side. Take your work and determine the width for the flap. About this wide should be good. You can use 2 stitch markers to mark the width. Be careful not to make it too wide or the flap will be difficult to bend and fold. Now we can start from where we just finished the last slip stitch. First slip stitch in each stitch until the stitch marker marking where to start the flap. Then start single crocheting from the marked stitch. Single crochet in each stitch until the other stitch marker. Finish with a single crochet in the marked stitch. Now flip your work, chain 1 for the next row, and then continue single crocheting from the first stitch to where we started single crochet. Now I have single crocheted to the first marked stitch. At this point, flip your work in the same way. And then repeat the previous pattern, chain 1 first, then a row of single crochet. Keep working back and forth in this way until the flap reaches the desired length. Now I have crocheted flap to the suitable length. So next, we're gonna slip stitch along this round to neaten the edges. We're gonna start slip stitching from where we just finished. This edge does not have obvious stitches. You just need to evenly slip stitch into the hole along this edge. Then from the right side, slip stitch in each stitch around. Continue slip stitching all the way around to complete the round. Now I'm almost finished slip stitching around the whole round. So next we're gonna slip stitch in the first stitch to finish off this round. After completing this stitch, you can pull the yarn tail through and trim it. And then we can use the hook to weave in the tail along this edge to hide it. You can also use a smaller sized hook, which may be easier. Continue weaving along the body portion, then secure with a knot, weaving a few more stitches before trimming the tail. Next, we're going to use yarn to make a small button. First, wrap the yarn around 2 fingers about 2 or 4 times. Winding it fairly tightly. Then remove it from your fingers, holding the center like this. And then continue winding another 2 loops around the center with yarn. Now take your crochet hook and insert it through the center loops, then insert back through to the other side. And then pull the working yarn through all the loops on the hook. Tightening slightly, then make a slip stitch. Now look at the shape of the ball. Wherever it looks that's full, add more slip stitches in those areas. Add more stitches where the strands of yarn are thinner. Continue adding slip stitches evenly all around until the size and shape are suitable. You can periodically check the fit on your project to see if the size is right. Okay, now the size of a small ball is what I want, so I will crochet 1 more stitch to secure it. We can then start preparing to attach the board to the back body. Leave some length for connecting to the back body, and then you can trim the yarn. Fold the flap down to see where on the body the ball needs to be sewn. Once the position is determined, mark it with the hook. Then hold the yarn tail of the board and insert the hook through the back at the marked position. Pull the tail through to the inside of the bag. We can then turn out the inside of the bag for easier sewing. Now we need to connect the yarn tail to the ball 1 more time to secure it. So insert the hook through the ball's yarn loops and pull the tail through from a different position, and then pull it through the loops on your hook, which will secure the board to the back body. Then continue pulling the tail to the inside of the bag Check the ball position again at this point to ensure it is suitable. If so, we can knot the ball's young tail securely in the back's inner loops and weave it in the end to trim it. This will securely attach the ball to the back body. Next, I'm going to show you how to crochet the cat ears part. For the ears, you can choose to use the same yarn as the back body, or you can choose another color. This time, I'm going to use the yarn of the same color as the ball to crochet. If you use a yarn of the same color as the back body, the woven yarn tail inside the flap will not be very obvious. However, if you see a different colored yarn, there will be an obvious woven tail inside. If anyone has a good suggestion for handling this situation, please feel free to comment and let me know. For the ears, we're gonna crochet into the top row of stitches around the whole back. So first, insert a hook through the two loops closest to the right edge and pull the working yarn through to make a slip stitch. This attaches the yarn to the back body. You can set the yarn tails aside for now. Continue slip stitching across next two loops on the left. Do this across until you reach where you want the first ear to start. I did 3 slip stitches. Now pull the working yarn through the loops on your hook to make a chain. And then chain 4 more stitches. Slip stitch into the second chain from your hook. And then make 1 single crochet in the next chain. For the next chain, you're gonna make a half a double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook, and pull up a loop, leave it a bit loose, then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. And then make 1 double crochet in the last chain, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over again and pull through the 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. Now the shape of the first ear is done. Place it on the top of the bag and choose where to attach it with a slip stitch through 2 loops. Now continue slip stitching across until the second ear position. Chain 5 and follow the same pattern as the first ear. Slip stitch in the second chain. and then single crochet, and then half double crochet, after that double crochet in the last chain. Then we're gonna attach with a slip stitch. Finish with the slip stitches to the left edge. Pull the working yarn through the loop and you can trim the ends. We're gonna weave them in later. If you're a little bit confused now, I'm gonna use an obvious yarn to do it again. First, imagine this zero corresponds to the top edge of our bag where the ears will go. I'm gonna crochet the ears with this pink yarn. The first stitch near the red edge is like the first stitch we did on the back earlier. Insert a hook through the two loops of that first stitch and pull up the pink yarn to slip stitch and secure it. Continue slip stitching across this row until you reach where you want the first ear to start. Now let's make that here. Chain 5 first. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You'll see 5 loops formed. Now slip stitch into the second chain from your hook. And then single crochet into the next stitch. For the stitch after, make a half double crochet, yarn over, insert a hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. You will have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, put the 3 loops on your hook, and then in the last chain work a double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over again, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2. That's the ear shape complete. Place it at the top and slip stitch through a stitch to attach it. Now keep slip stitching across until the second year position. To make the year, chain 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then slip stitch in the second to last chain. And single crochet. Now half double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, go through a loop, yarn over, go through all the loops on your hook, and double crochet in the last chain, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, go through 2, and then slip stitch to attach. Continue slip stitching to the end. For last stitch, just pull the yarn through and you can cut the yarn. The whole year section is now complete. Let me know if any parts needs more explanation. Okay, now let's tidy up those loose ends and the ears. Take a smaller hook and pull each tail to the inside of the bag. We're gonna weave the tails in along this row of stitches. Start by securing the tail with the knot by the nearby loop. Then every other stitch, poke the tail down through the loop to create a dashed line as you weave it in. Use the same process for the other tail. Once complete, trim off the extra yarn. The sweet little ear section is now all finished. Let's move on to the bottom loop part. Take a length of yarn that's about this long and thread it through your board bottom to determine the right placement and length. About here looks good. So pull the yarn to the inside of the bag with your smaller hook. And then adjust the length so the button can open and close nicely when fastened. Once you've got the perfect length, secure it with 2 tight knots. Then, taking the 2 tails, whip them in down the sides using the same method as before. trim off the excess and your bottom loop is down. For the strap, you have two options, using a single piece of yarn or crochet a chain. Take your chosen yarn or chain and pull it from one side of the bag opening to the inside with your hook. And then make an adjustable knot at the desired length. Repeat for the other side. Adjustable knots are great because you can easily make the strap longer or shorter later on by simply untying and retying the knots at the new length. No need to unravel your work. Our style also provides another strap option that can be found described in the details section. Simply attach it to each side of the bag for easy carrying. And with that, your bag creation is complete. How did your bag turn out? I hope you like it. If you did, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Your support helps motivate me to share more patterns. And remember, if you have any other questions during your crochet, feel free to ask. And if you would like a finished work of this bag pattern or any of my other patterns, please leave a comment with your location. As a full-time mom, I'm working to start my small business. If there is a good demand, I will crochet some items and list them in our shop. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. See you next week.